Here we are with our special guest to talk to us about Election Day, Alex Michelson, who is an anchor on Fox 11 here in Los Angeles. In fact, you just recently had Hassan Piker on one of your shows.
Yeah.
The Issue Is, which airs every Friday night to debate Ann Coulter.
Yeah, which was a lot of fun. And you've been on the show before too, and you've also been on Good Day LA, our morning show.
Yes.
So you're one of our favorite guests. And, and thank you so much for having me on this show too.
Of course, my pleasure. So you've been out on the field and you've had many conversations with congressional candidates. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of that. And we'll get to it in just a second. But during the break, we had just a casual conversation about the tone, the excitement of the midterm election. And this is unprecedented. As you guys know, there's usually very little excitement when it comes to the midterms. People do not go to the polls unless they're older, usually. And now you have, and whiter. And so now you have people of color, young people going to the polls and being politically active, which is a great thing. And so let's keep it real. It is because of Trump, but it's because, in my opinion, Trump has become such a divisive figure that people are like, I gotta do something. Either people love Trump and they want to keep the current, political climate, or people want to change things.
Well, and it shows you the influence of one man, how one person can essentially drive the entire national conversation. I mean, I met so many people on both sides of the aisle who had said that they had never been involved in anything political, that they were attending their first political rally, that they were canvassing for the first time, that they were making phone calls for the first time, either because they love what the president's doing, they feel like everybody's out to get him and they needed to defend him, or in many cases because they feel like the country's in crisis, they feel like they abdicated their responsibility in 2016, they learned their lesson, and now it's time to get active.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And what I also really enjoy is just seeing the evolution of commentary on social media. So after 2016, or actually I should say during the general election, I noticed a lot of people in my personal life who had never cared about politics, posting all sorts of things that were misleading or maybe not correct on the facts. And now people are becoming more aware, more informed. And I think that is the one silver lining that we're seeing during this, in my opinion, terrible administration.
Well, I'll never forget, because I was in New York at Hillary Clinton's election headquarters in 2016, and seeing all the people crying. And then the next night, reporting live from Trump Tower, and seeing thousands of protesters come up, many of them young people. And I asked many of them, did you vote? And they said no.
Yeah.
Because they felt like they didn't need to. And I remember being at the Women's March in Washington, D.C. and talking to many of the women there and said, did you vote? And they said no. And they said, I'm never making that mistake again. And now maybe we are seeing proof of that today.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about some of the congressional candidates that you spoke to.
Yeah, so now Orange County in California is a real focus for the whole country. Orange County is an area that is historically very, very Republican. Do you know who the last Democrat, other than Hillary Clinton, to win Orange County from a president was?
I don't know. Who?
It was Franklin Roosevelt.
Wow.
So it's been a long time since a Democrat won. And Hillary Clinton won in Orange County because although we saw the president getting so many people excited maybe in the middle of the country, in California, we saw this huge push to Hillary. Hillary winning this state by 3 million votes. And some of those votes coming in Orange County. So there's 5 different congressional districts that now have Republican members of Congress that Hillary Clinton won.
Wow.
And so that is why Orange County has become such a focus for the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. They put so much effort there. And there is thought that they could flip all 5 of them.
Right.
And every single one of those races, every single one is within the margin of error if you look at the polls. So it could go either way.
Yeah, extremely tight races. And you have a challenger in San Diego, a Democratic challenger in San Diego as well.
That's the one that San Diego County, which has part of Orange County as well. That's the one, if the Democrats had to pick one that they thought this is our race, it's a guy named Mike Levin versus a woman named Diane Harkey. That's now an open seat. Darrell Issa, who a lot of people are familiar with, is retiring. He barely won in 2016. I don't think he felt like he could have won this time around. So that's probably the one that looks the best for the Democrats. Other ones that are really interesting, Dana Rohrabacher, who a lot of people call Vladimir Putin's favorite congressman. He's running against a guy named Harley Ruda, who's a former Republican, business guy, described himself to me as a moderate, because he's running in a district that is plus 10 Republican. He has a really good shot, though, because Dana Rohrabacher has said so many controversial things over the years, you could see that district flip. There's also Mimi Walters, who's a Republican congresswoman in Irvine area. She's being targeted by a woman named Katie Porter. We saw Senator Kamala Harris, who could be a presidential candidate, coming in there this past weekend. We saw Gavin Newsom, most likely going to be the next governor of California tonight, going in there this weekend to campaign. So there's a lot of push. Plus, we have Katie Hill, who's in northern LA County. She's a 31-year-old. A millennial, progressive, running in what was a pretty traditionally conservative district against Congressman Steve Knight.
What I love is the number of young female candidates that are getting involved in these elections and winning. I mean, in the Brooklyn area, as we know, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I think that her victory, and she's very likely to win her congressional race, I think that motivated so many people to get active, to see that progressives do have a shot. Because what we do see, and tell me what you think about this, because we talk about it on the Young Turks a lot. It feels as though the media doesn't really take progressives seriously. Like, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wasn't in the news at all until she won her primaries.
Right.
And so I think that actually encouraged other progressives to get more vocal, get more active.
Right. Well, I think, some of us are younger in the media and maybe have a different perspective. I think there's some people that are more establishment and that are maybe see things through a more establishment lens, and so they just don't necessarily see that coming. But you're seeing this success around the country with some of these progressive candidates. Andrew Gillum, a lot of people counted him out in the primary in Florida running for governor. Beto O'Rourke, a lot of people counted him out 2 weeks ago, now looking like he's got a chance. Of course, Stacey Abrams, the governor candidate in Georgia, that these progressives who are running as their authentic selves, instead of running to the middle, instead of trying to be Republican light, they're running as their authentic selves. Sometimes minorities running as their authentic selves are exciting people, because it seems like in this era, especially in this era of social media, when everybody shares everything, transparency and authenticity works.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll see if it makes a difference. But at least getting them this far.
I agree with you in that we don't know what the results of the election will be until obviously later today. But even if these progressives lose by a small margin, it still is a testament to how well they can do. I mean, many of them closed giant gaps, and many of them really did defy odds in running and closing those gaps. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight. I'm very optimistic, which is strange. I'm not an optimistic person. I'm actually pretty pessimistic all the time. But I just have this good feeling today. But I'm also prepared for the worst. I mean, who knows? I don't want a replay of 2016 where you think something's going to happen and then it ends up being a disaster.
Well, and we could see, though, speaking of 2016 and 2020, that sort of, if these sort of authentic progressives emerge victorious tonight with this playbook, we could see them not only become front runners for 2020, but that concept being so important in 2020 as you see the battle, because the Democrats are going to have 150 candidates, and there's going to be so many different lanes, and we'll see what happens. But it's interesting to see Kamala Harris, who's most likely running for president, so active on trying to get these Democrats in the House.
Exactly. Alex Michelson, make sure you check him out. The Issue is
Friday nights at 10:30. You can also stream it live and watch it on my YouTube page, youtube.com/Alex Michelson, where you can see past episodes, including our episode with Anna Kasparian.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.